Okay, so because of those reasons, artificial openings are often undertaken for flood mitigation purposes and other reasons. And so I'm going to step through the sequence of geomorphic change that happens when we have a successful opening using some of our observations at Pankalack. And then we're going to look and contrast that to ones that close off really quickly and try to tease apart what some of the reasons for that might be. So with our artificial opening, if it's a successful one, I would consider that to be that it stays open, it drains the basin so the flooding is improved and doesn't have a bad ecological impact. So in terms of the geomorphology here, these openings follow a sequence of excavation. We start to have a small little channel trickle up to sea, which is called a pilot channel. Then after about an hour, hour and a half, it tends to get a lot more high energy, and we start to see the channel rapidly in size and widen, and we get our really fast water flows coming out of the mouth. And then as our water level behind it in the lagoon starts to drop, we lose that head or pressure that keeps forcing water out the mouth. And so our flow gets lower in speed, it kind of loses its energy, and then stops draining at a certain point. So here's just a few examples from some openings that I've attended over the last few years. So for this one here, this shows that first initial stage. So we've had our digger come in, excavate a channel. The water's flowing out probably at about 0.7 to 1.5 meters a second, and the channel is only generally about half a meter or so deep. So this is what these look like, and you've probably all would have seen it happening at Pankalack. But what's critical during this stage is that that outflow has enough speed and enough energy to keep moving sand offshore. This is the time where if it's opened and it doesn't have that energy, it can start to close off. And so we'll look at that next. So after a couple of hours, things start to speed up a bit. We get our big, impressive standing waves and supercritical flow or turbulent flow in the channel. And one feature that often forms at this stage is a weir. So if you look at this image here where my mouse is, you can see that kind of break and slope between the nice smooth water in the lagoon and then this turbulent flow in the channel. So once the estuary kind of has that feature or enters that stage, it means that it's got enough energy that it typically won't close off again. Then we jump to our next stage. So we've entered that period of really fast flow coming out. And here we see our channel continue to insize and widen, and sometimes the flow can get even up to about 5 meters per second, so kind of like a running pace. Then as our lagoon starts to drain, we lose that head difference between the lagoon and the sea. And so with that, our basin has less water in it, and the flow is starting to slow down. So this is kind of a steady flow phase. It's not so turbulent. We lose all those big standing waves in the channel. Oops. And then usually with our next high tide after that, we start to see waves coming back into the estuary. So here, if we had a really big, wide and deep opening and our tides were able to push up and back, that's something that can help it stay open if there's enough flow coming out from the estuary as well. Okay, so here's just a quick summary of this. This is a kind of a generalized conceptual model that we made showing those stages. And so we've got our channel width here. So when it's initially opened, the rates of change are kind of slow. As we entered that high energy state, it really ramps up, reaches a maximum, and then kind of plateaus. This is the discharge or flow volume out the mouth. That kind of lags behind the channel width at the start and then starts to increase and reach a peak late in the stage. And this is our water level here. So during that pilot channel kind of part of the sequence, we don't really see much change in water level. So if our estuary was to close here, in a sense that it hasn't really done much in draining the lagoon. So that's why for our successful openings, we need to really get it to kick and have enough fast flow that it can keep transporting sediment. And then over time, we see our water levels start to decrease rapidly in these middle stages and then kind of plateau out at the end.